piece of armor or and/or weapon go, that'd be interesting to make, or just call complete. That's BS right there.
I've had experiences on both sides of that coin. Our favorite, the Final Fantasy blade, is.
Go ahead, ask.
Go ahead, do it. You know, but there are other swords. Like, you know, personally, I like the design from the blades from 300. You know, those are actually close to functional. They're really, really, really top heavy, but they're actually a modification of an already existing blade. The Final Fantasy blade, I don't care how well balanced that blade is, there is no way you're wielding that thing. Yes,
There is
because
no
that's an
balance.
80-pound blade. Try to well balance 80 pounds anywhere, and your back is out.
It's a boat anchor. That's
Yeah, I was just curious because some of the designs, they're really intricate designs that I would want it.
The
I was like, I don't think that's gonna cut.
perfect example, Gil Hibben knives. Actually, he is one of my favorite knife makers. He's the guy who pretty much invented the knife that looks like it's going to cut you just by looking at it. You know, the gauntlets with all the blades coming out. He put a lot of time and effort into those knives, and the originals are gorgeous. Not practical at all. But art, they're beautiful. Once they're set into plastic, though, they lose all life. I don't like it. I would buy an original. I would.
You made the
never,
Rambo knives.
Never. Yeah, he made the Rambo knives. His son actually makes knives as well. He's a little less crazy with them, but you know.
Yeah, he makes knives that like you look at them and it's like, how
How am I supposed to hold
you
that?
can't hold it. What would you just throw it at somebody if they're attacking? You know, just like, give me your wallet. No, here. Just sit back and watch. You know, oh. Anyway. Yeah, I mean, I take a lot of inspiration from like historical blades and stuff like that, like not specific historical blades, but like different time periods, you know, and they just kind of come randomly, or I'll see something. The best example I can give you right now that's sitting on the table is on the table there's a little saber. It's like a pirate saber. And that was inspired by I got to mess around with a Chinese pirate saber. It was found off of Chinese junk. It was a pirate saber, and it had this neat curve on it, and it was little. It wasn't, you know, it's not like people, you know, you watch a movie or something like, ooh, a pirate sword, and it's like this big saber.
They
and it's
pull
like,
out a scimitar.
That's a dead pirate sword because that guy died because he tried to use it and got caught in rigging, and then he died. And it was awesome.
He died twice, by the way.
By some guy with a knife or with like a small thing, because they were really small blades and, you know, used in really confined spaces. And I got to mess with this antique piece, and I came this close to buying it, and you know, I really liked it. And then I was in the shop one day and I thought of it, and I'm just like, I'm gonna make one of those. That's an awesome idea because somebody will love it. I made it 6 years ago. It's still sitting there.
Right about the time I started apprenticing.
Yep. It's part of one of his first pieces. Is the guard on it was made from a railroad spike. The blade is 5160, and the pommel is also railroad spike, and it's got
Pink ivory.
pink ivory, because pink ivory is this really neat wood with a pretty interesting history.
Actually, the history's made up, which is what makes the history of the wood interesting. Pink ivory is a wood that starts out Pepto-Bismol pink. And it actually depends on the quality of the wood. You can see the quality of wood in the color that it starts out to be.
High quality.
But generally, it's Pepto pink. It gets darker the more you handle it. You know, so eventually it turns into this
There's
beautiful
a joke
blood
in there
red.
somewhere.
Yeah, we won't go there, children. Children.
I was
But
talking about the knife handle. What are you talking about?
one of the marketing scheme for this wood was, and it was actually widely spread. I believed it up until about 5 years ago, until I actually did research on it. Was that this was a royal wood of the Zulu tribe,
Hmm.
something, somewhere on the African continent. It was alleged to be a royal wood. Anybody caught, wearing or possessing this wood was put to death because only royalty could have it. It worked great in the Western countries because people believed it and there wasn't the internet. And then it was only till recently that it was more widely known that, hey, these guys were just trying to up their sales for this kind of wood, which makes it no less exotic. It's a wonderful, wonderful wood, and actually smells kind of nice when you grind on it. Random bit.
Oh, I was.
History, this is a while ago in the historical pieces. What era do you all like to work in?
What era?
More early types, like,
I'd like to remain in the present.
what do you like to work with? You like some more Roman stuff, more Chinese dynasty or something like
It
that?
really depends on the day. There are times when, I go way back to Arthurian legend and, make a dagger from there. There are times when, I think, what would a blade of the future look like? And then I cut it back by about 150 years because I don't have that kind of steel. But, but it's inspired by, different moods, different, whatever kind of book you're reading, what movie you just watched. It all varies. That's what's fun about it. We're not stuck in one period.
What's a movie?
What?
What's a movie?
Oh, it's moving pictures.
That's witchcraft.
Yeah, it's magic.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay. Any other questions before we fall too far into insanity? What's up, man? We haven't yet.
Did you say bongs?
Bronze.
Oh, bronze. I'm like, it's not that kind of show.
We haven't yet. That requires a lot of casting. And my interest, to be honest, hasn't taken me into that direction. That would actually be historically correct for a lot of blades. A lot of the blades back then were cast. Bronze.
They were all cast.
And they were actually work hardened. The way they would be cast into a mold and then brought back out, and then everything you saw later on was brought about by stone or work hardening, where they would actually hammer on the bronze, to harden it.
They actually had a jig that would be set up on the anvil that they would put the blade in between the jig and they would hammer on top of it, and that would actually help them put the edge on the bronze. And all of the edges were work hardened by just hammering. And they would use them in a fight. They would get bent. There's like illustrations of like these swords coming back bent, and they would just re-hammer them out and just keep fixing them. And then, they get work hard and they'd heat them up to anneal them a bit and then hammer them out again and just, until they broke or got stuck in somebody. And that's pretty much how they were made. They just set up a basic cast, and then hammer and file away whatever they wanted to shape it. But they didn't come in like bar form, like steel or anything like that. It was just like, let's cast this thing and make something pointy out of it. Also, one of the things that we do talk about, and I think it's in the title, is like the myths and legends around bladesmithing and stuff like that. So if you have any of those questions, pretty much anything related to blades, bladesmithing, combat, this, that, and the other thing. We were supposed to do combat demonstrations as well, but
I'm a little feeble at the moment.
he's all sickly, I'm not allowed to beat up on him. So I have to wait a couple more months.